Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Please take your seats. I call the meeting of the General Committee on Economic Affairs, Science, Technology and Environment to order. Colleagues, the agenda for this meeting has been distributed. Could I please invite you to adopt the agenda? Are there any objections? I don't see any objection. The agenda is adopted. Dear colleagues, may I remind that the election of committee officers for the next annual session of the Assembly will take place during the committee's final session, which is likely to take place on Wednesday, 2nd of July at 9 a.m. As agreed yesterday, nominations for candidates for election should be handed in to the table office by 6 p.m. today. Please remember to bring your voting cards tomorrow, as these will be needed to vote in the election. May I remind colleagues that if you wish to speak in the plenary debates, you will need to register with the table office by 2 p.m. tomorrow. At this morning's meeting, we adopted the main resolution and the supplementary resolution on youth perspectives on facilitating brain circulation and preventing brain drain in the OSCE area, proposed by Ms. Tasser from Slovenia. We also held the debate on the supplementary item on responding to the demographic winter, proposed by Ms. Kugler from Austria. In this third meeting, we will consider the amendments to the supplementary item on responding to the demographic winter. If time permits, we will also consider the items on addressing the nexus between corruption, organized crime, and terrorism, proposed by Ms. Karalambidis from Cyprus, promoting the recovery and the safekeeping the assets confiscated from organized crime, proposed by Mr. Zofile from Italy, and climate change, corruption, and security, addressing interlinked threats in the OSCE region, proposed by Mr. Pons from Spain. Dear colleagues, we will now move to consider the amendments submitted to the draft resolution. 3 valid amendments have been tabled and copies of the amendments have been made available. So we will continue, as I said, consideration of supplementary item 2, responding to the demographic winter. I will call the proposer of the amendment first, and then we call any opponent of the amendment and the sponsor of the draft resolution. Following that, I shall put the amendments to the vote. I ask speakers to observe a time limit to 1 minute. We are also required to vote on every paragraph to which there are no amendments. Yesterday, we agreed that to save time and to avoid many votes on items that have broad support, if no amendments has been tabled to a paragraph, and if nobody requests a vote on a paragraph, we will consider it adopted. Needless to say, any time a specific vote is requested, we will do so. Dear colleagues, now we will take paragraphs 1 to 3 together. Does anyone want a vote of any of these paragraphs? I don't see anyone. So paragraph 1 to 3 is adopted. Dear colleagues, now we are moving on the consideration amendments. Amendment 1, I call Ms. Fry to propose Amendment 1 to paragraph 4. Madam Fry, you have the floor. Please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to say that I understand this amendment, this SI, and I think that there is some ambiguity about it, though, because I think if the language were finessed a bit more, it would be easier to understand, and some of the misconceptions in it could be corrected. So I would like to modify paragraph 4 with the language that I'm going to bring in. I think it's the term childbearing is one that has a tendency to be quite focused only on the woman. And I think that we want to expand this to talk about, instead of childbearing, to talk about the impact on maternal and newborn health. So I would like to replace the word childbearing with the expression maternal and newborn health. I think this deals with the important issue of demographic change, and I agree with it. But I think among these measures, we need to talk about the whole spectrum of reproductive health care and rights, as well as newborn health, because that's a whole part of the whole complement of children that are going to be born, that are going to be healthy, as well as the prenatal, intrapartum and postnatal care that we want to look at. So I think the word maternal and newborn health is more comprehensive, and it tends to ensure that all of these considerations around it are improved. The World Health Organization tells us that every day in 2023, over 700 women died globally from preventable causes related to pregnancy and childbirth. And as well, 2.3 million children around the world died in the first 28 days of life in 2022. So maternal and newborn health is a part of that crucial issue. It's not about it bearing children, it's about making sure that the mother has good maternal care, has good intrapartum care, and that the children born are going to remain healthy. Otherwise, it defeats the whole concept of this SI. So I ask for your support in this amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Heidi Fry. Now I will ask if anyone wishes to speak against Amendment 1. I don't see anyone. So I will ask now Madam Kugler to propose or to offer her opinion about the amendment. Please, Madam Kugler, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would first like to thank Heidi Fry for her concern and also for endorsing the general direction in which this supplementary item goes. I'm very happy to hear that she agrees with the intention. I would like to support amendment number 1 because I do agree with the assessment of Heidi Fry with regard to the necessity of speaking about maternal and newborn health. And I think that additional aspects that would be important under the term of childbearing are anyhow part of the term of parenthood. So in this case, I think this amendment is a very positive addition to the supplementary item.
Thank you very much, Madam Kugler. Now I will put Amendment 1 to the vote. Will all those in favor of amendment please raise their voting cards? Thank you very much. Those against? No. Any abstentions? Thank you. In favor 26, no one against, and 2 abstentions. So amendment 1 is adopted. Now we will vote on paragraph 4 as amended. Will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? In favor? Please keep it up a bit. Thank you. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. The paragraph 4 is adopted. 4 in favor 23, no against, no one against, and no one is abstention. So paragraph 4 is adopted. Dear colleagues, now we will take paragraph 5 to 8 together. I will ask if anyone wants to have a separate vote on these paragraphs. No? So the paragraph 5 to 8 are agreed to. We come now to amendment 2 by Ms. Fry to paragraph 9, I understand that Ms. Kugler wishes to propose on oral sub-amendments to Amendment 2. I ask for the text of the oral amendment to be displayed on the screen first. Is it available? Okay, thank you. Dear colleagues, as you know, in accordance with paragraph 10 of Rule 22 of our Rules and Procedure, the oral sub-amendment cannot be considered if there are any objections to it. This is why we need first consensus. If there are any objections to the oral amendment being considered, so I don't see any objection. So I will call Ms. Kugler to speak to the oral sub-amendment.
Thank you. I would like to thank Hedi Frey for being so flexible that we could together formulate this addition. With this addition, I think the major intention of paragraph 9 is kept, but also the worries of Ms. Frey are covered. So I think that now stressing that we respect personal decisions and choices, while at the same time understanding that it is important that we, as it says here, foster a public dialogue that portrays parenthood in a positive way, is a beautiful compromise, and I hope that it's fine for everybody, and I hope that this can find full support.
Thank you, Madam Kugler. Now I will ask if anyone wishes to speak against the sub-amendment, oral sub-amendment. Anyone against? No. So I will now ask Ms. Frey's opinion of the oral sub-amendment. Dr. Frey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I support the intent of this whole supplementary item, but I wanted to say that inserting the words parental leave, early childhood education, and care services indicates that it's really important not only to look at family-friendly policies. Part of this is about, once again, the giving parental leave. What parental leave does, and I said parental leave, it's not just maternal leave. I mean, the father can take the same leave as well. But it's all about ensuring that the child has the right care as they're growing up, and there is time for a woman to be able to go back to work and help to support the family and economic development. As well, I think it's important to understand that early childhood education is more than just looking after the child. It's about ensuring that the child's development, understanding, and early socialization, and all of those things that bring up a healthy child is seen to. So I think that should be part of the package of parental leave and early childhood education and care. It's been shown that this enhances the child's life skills, etc., during the rest of their life. The other one I wanted to insert was the issue of the diversity of family structures. We now know that families come in every different size and shape, and I do not want to exclude single parents or parents who are a same-sex marriage who are looking after their children. I think we need to support families in all of their diversity. And so I wanted to add that, in fact, to ensure that people recognizes that the respecting of personal decisions and directions and choices is really important to enhance our diversity of children and of families, secondly. So the third one is that what I wanted to propose is to remove the last provision of the paragraph, which says, and encourages the promotion of cultural narratives and media representation that affirm the value of family life and parenthood. I think, in fact, if we amend that to add my proposal, I think we would find that it would call, because this tends to narrow it down to certain cultural practices without allowing for the diversity of cultural practices and of different ways of bringing up your children. It could be interpreted as allowing governments to have an exclusionary view of family life. So I ask for your support of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fry. I gave you extra time. I know that you are, as a special rep on gender issue in our assembly, working long time in the assembly, and you are involved much more in that issue. But I understand what we are trying to move. And now I see that Mr. Kugler, you want to, Madam Kugler, you want to add something, or we go to vote now? Very short, please.
I think that the text that is portrayed here does not correspond to the text that we have in our papers. I would ask you to fix this. So the agreement that we have on the oral is only the is on the screen, the third line, or the fourth line if you count the headline. And by fostering public dialogue, the portrays president in a positive way, period. Everything else is as it is in our papers. And I would ask you to revert to the correct text, otherwise we are voting on something that cannot be tabled.
Of course, we see your point, but it is on the screen. I think everyone is understood what we are going to vote on.
It's the incorrect version on the screen, so we're just about to update it.
It was incorrect.
It was. Apologize, and we will.
Sorry for technical issue because it was not okay. Shall I ask to put the correct version?
Yes, please. We will.
Okay, please. You will have now correct version. Sorry for that.
Correct version.
For such technical inaccuracy, this is something happened, unfortunately.
Chair, a point of order, please. I have no idea what's going on right now.
Yes, please. Yes, Madam Fry. You have 1 minute for point of order.
I want to make sure that my amendments about parental leave and early childhood education and care services is important, and I want us to recognize that government should not view the simple, old-fashioned nuclear family, but look at the way families are now diverse. There are going to be a lot of single parents, especially in areas of conflict where the men have gone to war and died. You have single parent families. We need to support those and not just the two-parent, one-child family. We need to remember that there are whole different forms of families nowadays that are having to live in this very changing world. We need to give all the families support in every single way that they're diverse.
Dear colleagues, since we have a technical problem, we can just show on the screen the proposed oral amendment, but if you don't mind, I will read out now. And first of all, thank you, Kugler, for your intervention, because we are now about to fix this technical issue. Do you have anything to comment, or I will read out now?
Yes, you can read it out, but I would like to say to Dr. Fry that exactly what she says is being carried, that we have an agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, but we can stick to the amendment text the way it is in our papers, not the way it was shown on the screen, that was wrong. And just for the last 3 lines, the deletion, we have a new insertion. Everything else stays the way it is on the paper. And it'd be nice if the Secretariat could correct it so that we can see the correct version also on the screens.
Thank you very much. We knew that it is a little bit complicated procedure, but we will try to handle it. Now, if you don't mind, I just read out calls on participating states to address declining birth rates and aging societies, including by implementing family-friendly policies, that parental leave, early childhood education, and care services. We added. And we will vote for this amendment. And then financial support, tax benefits, housing support for families with children, and supporting private ownership while recognizing, this is new and diversity, by recognizing the diversity of family structures and then continuation of the previous version, respecting personal decisions and choices, and then new version, by fostering public dialogue that portrays parenthood in positive way. The rest of the sentence is suggesting to be deleted. It is here, okay.
It's correct.
So it may be a bit difficult job, but anyway, it is on the screen. I think, please, very careful look, and then we will go to vote. We have a time. I can give for about 20 seconds, maybe, for you to understand properly, not to make something wrong. I think it is quite clear. Now we can go to vote. So, dear colleagues, I shall put now the oral sub amended to the vote that is been appear on the screen. And first I will ask, will all those in favor of the oral sub amendment please raise their voting cards? In favor of the sub amendment, please. Thank you very much. Those against, please raise your voting cards. Please keep it up a bit.
One.
Thank you. Any abstentions? Two. So it is important to announce the result of voting. So in favor 29, against 2, abstentions 3. So the oral sub-amendment is adopted. Dear colleagues, now we will consider Amendment 2 as amended. I call first Ms. Fry to speak to Amendment 2 as amended. Please, Dr. Fry, you have the floor. Dr. Fry, you have already submitted.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, you want-
I'm sorry,
If you
Chair.
want to add something, please. You have the.
I'm a little confused because I proposed 3 sub-amendments to this paragraph, and I don't know which one we just supported. Did we support parental leave, early childhood education and care services? Did we support recognizing the diversity of family-friendly structures? Were those passed? So what are we speaking about now? I just don't get what's going on here.
Let me explain it.
So maybe I will ask my advisor to explain. Please, you have the floor. You take the floor. Yeah.
So we have just voted on the oral sub-amendment to your amendment, Ms. Fry, so the change to Amendment 2, and now we will vote on Amendment 2, so the whole of your amendment, everything you are proposing, together with the change Ms. Kugler proposed, in one go. So you have already spoken in favour of
Good.
Amendment 2.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wish to add?
All
is the
right.
question.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. I want to try to avoid any misunderstanding. This is why I asked my advisor. Thank you very much for clarification. Now, dear colleagues, Dr. Fry already moved her amendment to as amended, and now I would like to ask if anyone wishes to speak against Amendment 2 as amended. Anyone wish to speak against? I don't see anyone. Now I would like to ask, please, delegation of Switzerland, please, you have the floor.
Oui, excusez-moi, Monsieur le Président, Mesdames, Messieurs, j'aimerais juste dire ceci, c'est qu'il faudrait savoir quel est l'objectif de ce point additionnel, parce que soit on veut remédier à l'hiver démographique, soit pas. Si on veut résoudre ce problème, il faudra bien encourager, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, finalement les formes de vie en commun qui sont propices à la procréation. Alors on peut bien parler de diversité, puis mêler toutes sortes d'idéologies. Moi je dis simplement que le texte originaire était tout à fait correct, il correspond à l'objectif du point additionnel, et pour ça je vous propose de nous en tenir au texte originaire.
Thank you very much. Now I will ask Ms. Kugler's opinion of Amendment 2 as amended. Madam Kugler, please, you have the floor.
I'm very sorry, but the text on the screen again does not correspond to the text in our papers. So it confuses the sequence of sentences. So we will, again, I don't need to speak on amendment number 2 as amended. I agree with it. But what is on the screen is incorrect.
Okay, unfortunately, again, we are facing some technical issue. But what I suggest, Madam Kugler, if you are okay with 2 amendment 1 as amended, then we can go to vote. Any objection? Because I think the content and the main essence of the amendment is clear for everyone. Shall I go with that way? Okay, thank you very much. So, now I will now put amendment 2 as amended to the vote. First, I will ask, will all those in favor of the amendment as amended, please raise your voting cards. Who are in favor, please? Thank you. Those against? Against? Any abstentions? Thank you. So, 27 is in favor, 1 is against, 1 is abstention. So, amendment 2 as amended is adopted. Thank you. Dear colleagues, now there is an oral amendment to paragraph 9, which has been proposed by Mr. Lacroix. So I will ask for the amendment to be displayed on the screen if it is valid. I have a bit doubt, but let us try.
No, the next one.
So luckily we have valid one. Okay. Dear colleagues, I have to remind you that in accordance with paragraph 10 of Rule 22 of our rules of procedure, first I will ask whether there is any objection to the oral amendment being considered. If there is any objection, the oral amendment cannot be considered and it falls. So, as I said, it requires consensus. Okay, please, the delegation of Switzerland. You are against. So, if there is no consensus, it means that this oral amendment falls. So, dear colleagues, now we will vote on paragraph 9 as amended. I will first ask, will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Paragraph 9 as amended. In favor? Thank you. Those against?
Zero.
Any abstentions? So, dear colleagues, 26 members
One, sorry, absent.
of our delegation
Doesn't matter.
voted in favor.
One abstention and no against.
So one abstention and one a 0 against. So paragraph 9 as amended is agreed to. Dear colleagues, now we will take paragraph 10 to 12 together. First, I will ask, does anyone want to vote, to have a separate vote of any of these paragraphs? No request for separate vote, so the paragraph 10 to 12 agreed to. Amendment 3. I call Ms. Fry from Canada to propose Amendment 3 to paragraph 13. Madam Fry, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I just want one thing removed. That's my sub-amendment. It's cultural proximity, because I think that we have to talk about what happens in Canada. We're a member of the OSCE. The Canadian Multiculturalism Act recognizes and understands that multiculturalism is a fundamental characteristic of our Canadian heritage and identity. We have a history of welcoming immigrants with different cultural backgrounds from every part of the world. And data from our most recent census in 2021 shows that 26.4% of the Canadian population are first-generation migrants. In my city of Vancouver, immigrants from every continent have enriched our community and contributed to a vibrant cultural life and dynamic economy. And while it's important to support measures that facilitate the integration of immigrants into our societies, we would not agree with immigration policies that would discriminate among people based on their cultural background. So I ask for your support in this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fry. Now, does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 3? Please, delegation of Switzerland, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Mesdames, Messieurs, j'ai déjà dit tout à l'heure, la réalité, c'est que les politiques d'intégration réussies, elles exigent certaines composantes, dont la proximité culturelle. C'est comme ça, c'est un fait, ça facilite l'intégration. Et puis, j'aimerais juste dire, je m'étonne qu'une représentante d'un pays, le Canada, qui a certainement une des politiques d'immigration les plus restrictives au monde, donc qui ne se gêne pas de choisir son immigration sur la base de critères extrêmement stricts, je suis un peu surpris que ce soit une représentante de ce pays-là qui vienne aujourd'hui nous parler de discrimination. Il ne s'agit pas du tout de ça, il s'agit de voir la réalité en face.
Thank you. Now I will ask Ms. Kugler's opinion of the amendment. Gudrun, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do understand that countries in the OSCE region have different approaches, and also terminology has different connotations. And so I think that for the sake of having a compromise and agreeing in a large majority, I support amendment number 3, because what I wanted to say really is expressed in the term integration. And so for me, that's okay, and I think it's a better compromise, so I'm in favor of amendment number 3.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, now I will put Amendment 3 to the vote. First, I will ask, will all those in favor of amendment please raise their voting cards? In favor. In favor, Amendment 3. Thank you. Those against?
Two against.
Thank you. Any abstentions?
Zero.
Okay. 31 is in favor, 4 against, and 0 abstentions. So Amendment 3 is adopted. Dear colleagues, now we will vote on paragraph 13 as amended. First, I will ask, will all those in favor of the paragraph please raise their voting cards? Paragraph 13 as amended. In favor? Thank you. Those against?
Zero.
Any abstentions?
One.
So Amendment 13 is adopted as amended.
Vote on card.
Dear colleagues, now we will take paragraphs 14 to 23 together. First, I will ask, does anyone want to vote separately of any of these paragraphs? No separate vote requested. So it means that paragraph 14 to 23 are agreed to. That concludes, dear colleagues, the consideration of amendments. I thank all of you for your contribution. I propose that we now formally move to a vote on the draft resolution as amended. First, I would like to ask those in favor of adopting the draft resolution as amended, please raise their voting cards. Thank you very much. And those against, please raise your voting cards. Thank you. Any abstentions? Any abstentions? No. So, dear colleagues, 36 voted in favor of adoption of the draft resolution as amended. I don't see any objection or any abstention. So, I want to congratulate Madam Kugler. Your supplementary item has been adopted by majority or overwhelmingly. It is a great result for you and for the Assembly entirely. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Dear colleagues, we will move now on our next supplementary item, which is addressing the nexus between corruption, organized crime, and terrorism. All of our remaining supplementary items have been allocated to the committee under the procedure outlined in Rule 21.3. I remind colleagues that this means that these items cannot be amended and that there will be no debate. So we come first to supplementary item 16, as I already mentioned, addressing the nexus between corruption, organized crime, and terrorism, sponsored by Ms. Karlambidis. The author of the supplementary item also serves as our special representative on this topic. Since our procedures mean that there will be no debate on this item, before we formally proceed to consideration of the supplementary item, if the committee agrees, I will invite Ms. Karlambidis briefly to introduce the resolution and outline the background to it. So, Ms. Karlambidis, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, corruption, organized crime, and terrorism are not isolated phenomena. They are interconnected threats that reinforce one another in ways that destabilize our democracies, weaken public institutions, and endanger our citizens. This is the core rationale behind the resolution before you today. We have seen again and again that corruption serves as a lubricant for organized crime and terrorism. It opens doors, secures impunity, and fuels illicit financial flows. In turn, criminal networks and terrorist groups exploit corruption to launder money, traffic weapons and people, and undermine justice systems through bribery and intimidation. This resolution calls on us to confront this dangerous nexus. It urges us to adopt integrated national strategies that treat corruption not as a standalone issue, but as a key enabler of broader security threats. It promotes cross-border cooperation to detect and dismantle the financial lifelines of criminal and terrorist networks, and it reinforces the essential role of transparency, whistleblower protection, independent oversight bodies, and digital technologies in that field. We must also acknowledge the critical role of civil society, journalists, and the media. Their courageous work in exposing corruption is often carried out under threats to their safety. This resolution sends a clear message. They are not alone. They deserve not only our admiration, but our legal protection and institutional support. We are proposing practical evidence-based tools, open contracting beneficial ownership, transparency, strengthened cooperation with supervisory authorities, and improved regulatory frameworks for both the public and private sector. We also highlight the need to use digital tools while ensuring that e-governance and AI reduce rather than enable corruption. Let us act now. Let us send the message that the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly will not allow corruption to remain the silent partner of organized crime and terrorism. I ask for your support in adopting this resolution, not only as a matter of policy, but as a statement of political will. Thank you, dear colleagues.
Thank you very much, dear Irene. Dear colleagues, we have 4 speakers on my list. So if you don't mind, I will ask for each speaker to limit to 2 minutes because we have other items to be considered. So I will start first from Mr. Down of Canada. Mr. Down, you have the floor. No worry. It doesn't work? Can we change microphone, please? Your one doesn't work as well. Yes, please. You can move where the microphone is operating.
Okay, Chair, I hope that didn't include my 2 minutes with the reshuffle.
So, Mr. Down, as we had some trouble, I will add another 1 minute for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, colleagues. Once again, for another year, I rise in support of the work of our Vice President on corruption. It's an indication of the ongoing problem that we have to address this every year, but it's a continuous problem for all our countries. I want to thank the Vice President for this supplementary item and her continued contribution to the Parliamentary Assembly's work on fighting corruption. As noted in the supplementary item, corruption and organized crime are part of the same ecosystem. The lines between criminal and terrorist financial and logistic networks have become increasingly connected in recent years. Together, these twin issues undermine public trust in democratic institutions.
Again? So we need to talk to the technical team. It's there.
It was working until he freaked it up.
Please,
Okay, here we
go
go.
ahead.
We're back. Chair, I want to assure you there's no corruption or organized crime involved in this. It's just an IT problem. Together, these twin issues undermine public trust in democratic institutions, and they pose a significant threat to the economic stability and the overall security of the OSCE region and beyond. By way of illustration, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime estimates that the amount of money laundered globally each year stands at 2 to 5% of global GDP, approximately $2 trillion. Moreover, according to the United Nations, even in regions considered relatively stable and secure, such as Canada, evidence of the relationship between terrorist and criminal activities has been well documented and has acted as an enabler of terrorism. In Canada's example, we have allegations that criminal organizations are being hired by international terrorists to conduct crimes in our country. Our fight against crime and terrorism must include anti-corruption measures. It is our common responsibilities to strengthen the integrity of our institutions, uphold the rules of law, and discourage the involvement of officials in illegal activities. At the domestic level, actions to achieve these goals can take the form of measures to enhance financial transparency, as well as stricter oversight of law enforcement, border control, and justice sectors. In Canada's case, we introduced beneficial ownership that helps with transparency, and we also have worked on protecting those who expose corruption. Chair, in conclusion, I support the adoption of this supplementary item, which focuses attentions on the interconnection nature of corruption, organized crime, and terrorism. And I'm not sure what my time is because I think the clock is gone as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Down, for your great contribution, and again, sorry for technical issue you faced. I hope that our technical team is working well and we wouldn't have any similar case further. So, dear colleagues, now I want to ask Ms. Anya Kotrix of Canada. She will be followed by Ms. Skarvite Abrama of Latvia. Madam Kotrakis, please you have the floor. Sorry for wrong pronunciation if I made, but please you have the floor. The same, sure?
Colleagues, I take the floor to support this supplementary item on addressing the nexus between corruption, organized crime, and terrorism. This supplementary item sheds light on the fact that corruption acts as a major enabler of both crime and terrorism. Recent research published in the American Political Science Review shows that higher levels of corruption leads to more terrorism, and that corruption impedes the provision of public goods and undermines counterterrorism capacity. This supplementary item correctly notes that corruption in public institutions such as law enforcement, border control, or financial regulatory agencies facilitates the operations of criminal and terrorist organizations. As well, it notes that the erosion of public trust caused by corruption can fuel radicalization and spread extremist narratives. Corruption also undermines the ability of judicial systems to investigate, prosecute, and hold criminals and terrorists accountable for their actions. Unfortunately, corruption remains a widespread phenomenon around the world. In Transparency International's most recent Corruption Perceptions Index, 2/3 of 180 surveyed countries scored below 50 out of 100, which indicates a serious corruption problem. The supplementary item identifies ways to address these issues. It calls on our governments and parliaments to adopt comprehensive anti-corruption strategies as essential components of counterterrorism efforts. These strategies include ensuring strict transparency in public administration, introducing measures to strengthen public procurement processes, and implementing mechanisms to prevent, detect, investigate, and prosecute corruption. As well, the supplementary item calls on our governments to support the role of civil society organizations and media in uncovering and fighting corruption. These national efforts should be paired with stronger international cooperation through information sharing, joint investigations, and harmonized legal frameworks. Canada is keenly engaged in international anti-corruption initiatives. For example, Canada is a party to the OECD Convention on Combating Bribery of Foreign Public Officials in International Business Transactions, the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, and the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. The OSCE PA has, of course, also been active on the issue of corruption, and last year on Bucharest Declaration included a resolution on preventing corruption from being used as a foreign policy tool. This supplementary item is a continuation of this work and will allow us to deepen our engagement on this crucial topic. As the OSCE PA Special Representative on Fighting Corruption noted on the occasion of International Anti-Corruption Day 2024, addressing corruption requires a multifaceted collaborative approach. We need to build synergies across borders and foster partnerships with international organizations, civil society, the media, academia, the private sector, and individuals. I would like to thank my colleague from Cyprus for sponsoring this supplementary item and for her work as OSCE PA Special Representative on Fighting Corruption. I strongly encourage us, colleagues, to support this supplementary item. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear colleague. So I'd like to give the floor to Ms. Skadrita Abrama of Latvia.
Okay.
Please,
Thank you,
dear
Chair.
Skadrita, you have the floor.
Dear colleagues, I would like to express my full support to this supplementary item on addressing the links between corruption, terrorism, and organized crimes. It has become an increasing priority for the international community, and I think it's due time for considering these topics at the OSCE as well. As Irena already mentioned, corruption is like fertile ground for developing money laundering, organized crime, terrorism, etc. But we all know that organized crime comes at a huge economic and personal cost. Only the economic loss due to organized crime and corruption has been estimated to represent in Europe between 200 and 300 billion euros annually. Incredibly huge amount of money which could be invested for the welfare of the society. And no less serious impacts are that corruption undermines trust in public institutions, in parliamentarians, in governments, and democracy as well. More and more we in Europe and in my country Latvia, we encounter sophisticated hybrid attacks by different actors, state, non-state, vulnerabilities exploited through cyber attacks, damages to critical infrastructure, quite often now also in Baltic Sea, disinformation campaigns, attempts to radicalize the political narrative. These infringements are highly complex, highly dangerous, and their roots are not easy to detect of their very hidden nature. Therefore, we have to invest considerable resources in building capabilities and capacities of law enforcement agencies for early detection, prevention, and rapid response to these threats, for ensuring resilience and security of critical infrastructure, cybersecurity, fighting disinformation, and therefore strong political will is needed. And that is what we are doing in Latvia. We as legislators propose and strongly support legislative initiatives on improving border management, because you know we have border with Russia, Belarus land, and different attacks we have seen recently, such as profiling high-risk passengers and cargo, diversifying renewable energy sources, ensuring energy security and strengthening competition and anti-corruption. Ensuring transparency, efficiency of public procurement for building renewable energy facilities, also facilitating international cooperation, implementing transparency of interest representation by law, and doing many more. But of course, that is still not enough. We need to build altogether a strong European security ecosystem, and I call the OSCE member states to consider all those threats, establish strong cooperation, partnership, and do all what is needed to protect our societies, our citizens. Thank you for cooperation. Thank you, Irena. Thank you, Cyprus colleagues, for raising this very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you, dear colleague. By that, we conclude the discussions on the supplementary item. Now, I will proceed with the formal consideration of supplementary item 16. This supplementary item has been allocated to the committee under the procedure outlined by Rule 21.3 as it had received no amendment. Please note that no further amendments can be tabled. There is now an opportunity to give the floor to Ms. Karalambidis, again for up to 1 minute, to advance the text and then give 1 minute to any member against, followed by the vote. So, Madam Karalambidis, you have the floor.
Thanks all the colleagues for their incredible remarks. But Mr. President, I have to thank you and also Marco Bonabello, because we've started this effort, this huge effort about our anti-corruption position on the map as OSCE with Marco Bonabello. And I have to say a great thanks to him. He was of extreme help until you stole him from me, Mr. President. So, dear colleagues, thank you. I hope you vote for adopting this supplementary item. It's of great importance to carry on our efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Karalambidis. You have already moved officially your supplementary item. Now, dear colleagues, I want to ask if anyone wishes to speak against supplementary item 16. I don't see anyone. So, does anyone want a separate vote of any of these paragraphs? So, I don't see anyone. Now we will formally move to a vote on the draft resolution. Would those in favor of adopting the draft resolution please raise their voting cards? In favor. Thank you very much. Those against? Those against of the supplementary item?
Okay, so 0.
Any abstentions?
0.
So, dear colleagues, let me announce the result of voting. 33 is in favor, no objection, no abstention. So, it means that the draft resolution 16 is adopted. Congratulations, dear Adrian. By the way, this topic has always been on our high agenda as a second committee. I appreciate that Madam Karalambidis again brought up this issue, and I appreciate that all members have supported this special item. So, dear colleagues, now we move on the consideration of supplementary item 3, promoting the recovery and the safekeeping of assets confiscated from organized crime. So, we come now, as I said, supplementary item number 3, and who was proposed by Mr. Zofili. The author of the supplementary item also serves as our special representative on this topic. Before we formally proceed to consideration of the supplementary item, if the committee agrees, I will invite Mr. Zofili briefly to introduce the resolution and outline the background to it. So, Mr. Zofili, you have 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Grazie Zai. Cari colleghi, Presidente, ho l'onore di sottoporre all'attenzione di questa Commissione dell'Assemblea parlamentare dell'OSCE questo supplementary item che intende promuovere il recupero, la conservazione e il riutilizzo per fini sociali dei beni confiscati alle organizzazioni criminali, con l'obiettivo di rafforzare lo Stato di diritto, la giustizia sociale e la fiducia nelle istituzioni. A questo riguardo mi sta particolarmente a cuore il concetto di riutilizzo sociali dei beni confiscati alle mafie e alla criminalità organizzata e chiedo se possibile di integrarlo gentilmente nel titolo. Di questo supplementary item, di questo tema ne abbiamo parlato molto ed è intervenuto ed era presente anche il presidente di questo comitato a Roma il 5-6 giugno scorsi nell'ambito della conferenza sulla lotta alla criminalità organizzata nella regione OSCE, che ha portato a Roma 33 paesi, 33 delegazioni e più di 140 parlamentari. Se ne è parlato molto, erano presenti più alti livello delle nostre polizie, delle nostre forze dell'ordine italiane, anche il direttore dell'Agenzia Nazionale per i Beni Confiscati, che fa capo al Ministero dell'Interno italiano, il prefetto Laganà. Il crimine organizzato, pervasivo e transnazionale rappresenta una minaccia concreta alla sicurezza, alla legalità e alla stabilità dei nostri Stati. Le sue ingenti risorse finanziarie alimentano la corruzione, minano l'economia legale e compromettono i diritti fondamentali. Per questo è fondamentale colpire, e lo dico da capo della delegazione italiana, soprattutto da rappresentante speciale per la lotta alla criminalità organizzata, è fondamentale colpire i patrimoni illeciti di questi criminali, seguendo il principio del follow the money, un principio che nasce dall'intuizione del giudice italiano Giovanni Falcone, che è stato assassinato brutalmente in un attentato con la sua moglie e con la sua scorta a Capaci in Sicilia, è stato assassinato dalla mafia. E a Roma, nella conferenza che abbiamo organizzato, si ricorda, Presidente, cari colleghi, era presente il prefetto, il poliziotto che ai tempi era questore di Palermo, il prefetto Cortese, che arrestò i mandanti di questo terribile crimine. E dicevo, un principio che nasce appunto dal nostro giudice, il nostro compianto giudice Giovanni Falcone, che ricordiamo con grande affetto, utilizzata poi nei vari consessi internazionali per trovare gli strumenti più adatti per affrontare il tema della criminalità organizzata. La confisca e il riutilizzo per fini sociali di questi beni costituiscono uno strumento potente e simbolico. Trasformare le proprietà un tempo in mano a mafie e reti criminali, trasformarle in scuole, in centri culturali o sedi associative invia un messaggio chiaro: lo Stato prevale sul crimine e la legalità si traduce in valore concreto per le comunità. Questo supplementary item esorta gli Stati partecipanti all'Assemblea parlamentare dell'OSCE a rafforzare la cooperazione transnazionale, la condivisione di informazioni, il coordinamento giuridico e amministrativo, affinché i beni confiscati non restino inutilizzati o abbandonati, ma diventino motore di riscatto civile, che vengano usati per il bene, quei beni che erano proprietà del male, proprietà delle mafie, che vengono utilizzati per i disabili, per le associazioni, per scopi benefici e sociali. Pertanto vi invito, cari colleghi, ad approvare questa proposta che si inserisce pienamente nella missione dell'OSCE di promuovere la pace, la sicurezza attraverso la legalità, la cooperazione e la centralità della persona umana. Vi ringrazio, in particolare ringrazio i nostri uffici di Roma e anche ovviamente gli uffici, il dottor Marco Bonavello, gli uffici del segretariato dell'Assemblea parlamentare e il nostro Ministero dell'Interno italiano che mi hanno supportato nella stesura di questo documento. Grazie.
Thank you very much, dear Zofili. I think this is the time to ask if anyone wants to take a floor to ask some question or to make a comment. If not, so maybe I say a few words. Dear Zofili, I really appreciate that you, as a special representative on fighting against organized crime, your role has been instrumental in bringing this issue to the agenda of our assembly. I also appreciate that you recently organized in Rome, the special conference on that issue. I was happy to attend this conference and to deliver the speeches on behalf of the committee. Of course, support their role as a special representative. Thank you very much again for bringing up such an important supplementary item for the second committee's agenda. Thank you very much again. So we will now proceed formally to the consideration of supplementary item 3. The supplementary item has been allocated to the committee under the procedure outlined by Rule 21.3. As it had received no amendment, please note that no further amendments can be tabled. As we didn't have any speakers, any comment, Mr. Zofili, I think you move officially your supplementary item, so we can formally go to the vote if you don't have any objections. So I will start first. Does anyone wish to speak against supplementary item 3? I don't see anyone. So secondly, does anyone want a separate vote of any of these paragraphs? No, this is not the case. Now we will formally move to a vote on the draft resolution. So dear colleagues, I will first ask, will those in favor of adopting a draft resolution, please raise their voting cards. In favor? Against? Thank you very much. Those against, please raise your voting cards. No one is against. Any abstentions? No, I don't see anyone. So, dear colleague, 30 is in favor, no objection, no against, no abstention. So, supplementary item is adopted. Congratulations, Ms. Ophelia. Now, dear colleagues, we come to the supplementary item 19 on climate change, corruption, and security, addressing interlinked threats in the OSCE region, sponsored by Mr. Pons. The author of the supplementary item also serves as our special representative on this topic, since our procedures mean that there will be no debate on this item before we formally proceed to consideration of the supplementary item. If the committee agrees, I will invite Mr. Pons briefly to introduce the resolution and outline the background to it. Dear Prey, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'm honored to take the floor as a special representative and also as a former chair of this committee. And I think it's very interesting that Antonio Gutierrez, in the opening session of this summer session, underscored the situation in terms of climate change. Also on Monday in Sevilla, he also underlined that heat waves are the new normal, and actually France is under risk, and in Spain this week we reached more than 45 degrees in some areas of our country. So I think this is one of the most urgent items, and I will try to be very brief. And I also happy that I can intervene after the resolution of Madame Carambides, because it's also linked to corruption. In the end, I only have 3 or 4 messages, but the first one is that there will be no geopolitical stability if there is no climate security. I think this is something that we have to underscore in every meeting. The second point is that we have to accelerate the energy transition, but we need to do it in a fairly way. The third point is that in the countries where there is a higher situation in terms of corruption, the energy transition is slower than in the rest of the countries. So there are several reports released this year. For example, the report released by Transparency International focusing on that. We have to battle corruption, because if we battle corruption in the countries, we will accelerate the ecological transition and the energy transition. And I would like to end with one point, one very important point that I underscored in Dublin and I also emphasized in the session that Azai Guliev organized in Vienna. And if the societies perceive that energy transition is something driven by the elites, and then they are paying the price, and in the middle we have problems of corruption, it will be easier for the fanatics of or for the negationists of the climate transition and the climate reality that we have more and more obstacles for this transition. So I ask you kindly to support this resolution, and I said that there was no need for debate, but if there is time, I would be more than pleased to listen to your comments. So many thanks, Mr. Chair, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Pons, dear Pere, for your initiative. So, dear colleagues, as we don't have anyone on our speaker list, I want again ask if anyone wants to take a floor and to make some comments or ask the questions. If it is not the case, again, I will start saying a few words. Dear Pere, as special rep on climate change, I do believe that you really were very active. I also appreciate that you first ever represented OSCE Parliamentary Assembly in COP29 held in Baku last November. It means that OSCE became one of the, I would say, important platform to discuss these important issues. So thank you very much again for this initiative. So, dear colleagues, now we will formally proceed with consideration of the supplementary item 19. This supplementary item has been allocated to the committee under the procedure outlined by Rule 21.3 as it had received no amendment. Please note that no further amendments can be tabled. There is now an opportunity to go further as there was no speech and no comment. I don't think that you need to take one more time for, let's say, formally introducing your resolution. If you want, please, because your introduction or your first remark is accepted as a formally moving your supplementary item. Thank you for your understanding. So, I now ask if does anyone wish to speak against supplementary item 19? No. Thank you very much. Does anyone want a separate vote of any of these paragraphs? No, this is not the case. Now we will formally vote on the draft resolution. Please, will those in favor of adopting the draft resolution raise your voting cards? Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So in favor 31, against 2 and 0 abstention. So supplementary item is adopted. Congratulations, dear Karen. So, dear colleagues, I really appreciate that we collectively worked a lot and successfully ended today's session. And I thank all who really contributed a lot to the work of the committee. And by that, we conclude today's session. I want to announce that we will hold the election of committee officers at our final meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. We will also conclude our consideration of supplementary items at that meeting. So thank you very much. See you tomorrow.